What's good, friends? List episode 56 of the Game Pass Gamecast coming at you. After months of anticipation, the Xbox Game Showcase has finally come and gone, and man, did we get a ton of info. From the gameplay reveal of Halo Infinite and the series' approach to open-world sandbox gameplay while keeping its classic roots, to Obsidian's new first-person fantasy RPG Avowed that looks to fill the Elder Scrolls void, to finally seeing the reveal of the newest entry in the Fable franchise headed by Playground Games, we break down everything that Microsoft brought to the table, from what appears to be one of many showcases leading to the launch of the Xbox Series X. Plus, Metacritic is putting a new embargo on fan reviews, Microsoft is ditching both the Xbox One X and 12-month Xbox Live Gold memberships, and Microsoft Flight Simulator goes old school with its physical release. All of this, and much more, on the newest episode of the Game Pass Gamecast.
Now the fun begins.
Richard.
Stop! You violated the law.
Welcome back to another episode of the Game Pass Gamecast, your weekly go-to podcast for all things Xbox, Xbox Game Pass, PC gaming, and more, including news, rumors, and conversation around them damn good video games. You can catch new episodes of the show when they drop each and every Friday morning on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, SoundCloud, and all other major podcast services. So, be sure to subscribe to us, rate us, review us, follow us, all that jazz, wherever you get a podcast at, and follow us on Twitter at GPGC Podcast. Stay up to date with everything regarding the show, video games like, and our dope giveaways. I am your host, as always, Travis White, aka Traveless, on most internet platforms. Joining me, back in action, the dynamic duo, my partner in crime, Mike P-Pack. Mike, what's good? What's going on? What's going on this very Xbox-fueled Thursday, to say the least? And I mean that on a broad range of emotions, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. It's great to be back. Obviously, last week, sometimes real life things just kind of, happen, but I was happy to have...
That fucking shill Adam Marsh had to come in here and,
yeah,
had to pull the old boy out of retirement,
Yeah, I'm very happy that he was able to step in my...
No, absolutely. Adam's the best, man. He came in, crushed it like he always does.
Yeah, so for me, not much has changed. I have extensively troubleshot my computer because I was getting little micro freezes that were like 5 to 10 seconds of just complete lockup, and then it would just like behave, and then it would just come back like nothing was wrong.
Yeah, I saw that. I saw you talking about that in our group chat the other day with some of our friends. Did you get any resolution out of that?
Well, I've been fighting it for a while. I pulled my graphics card out. I put in my old graphics card. I did all kinds of things, and I wound up getting, I wound up just doing a complete and total clean install of Windows on my computer and everything. And as of now, it seems like it is behaving properly. So fingers crossed that's all behind me. But because I was really looking forward to purchasing Neo and playing through that game. But as of now, I've just been playing a steady diet of Halo 3 and mixing in a little bit of Age of Empires also on top of that. But yeah, as of right now, just playing a ton of Halo.
Yeah, and for good reason. Halo 3, at least in my time with it, my limited time, I should say, with it on PC, because Adam and I talked a little bit about it last week, obviously, with the release coming out and everything like that. I didn't get a chance to talk to you too much about the actual hard release of it, I guess, too much. I'm a big fan of it so far on PC. I think it feels pretty good, but granted, I'm also a casual player in terms of our playing styles, I guess, for the most part.
Filthy casual,
it's, to me, it's more, I'm playing more campaign, but at the same time, when I play multiplayer, I'm playing a lot of social games, I still will play some ranked games, I will play ranked matchmaking at times, but I'm playing more social games when I do play a lot of, variety, I guess, games. How has it been, I guess, with the final release, after now you've sank your teeth into it a bit, how are your overall thoughts, I guess, with the release on PC?
Overall, I'm pretty excited about it. It's a lot of fun. It's a pretty stable build of the game, much more so than the Xbox. I did enjoy the Insider probably more than I've been enjoying the full release. I feel like once more people got access to it and their servers are being stretched thin, I feel like some of the best things about the Insider, the shot registration, and other things have kind of gone by the wayside. But overall, I'm just really stoked that it was a pretty clean release, all things considered. There wasn't anything like super game breaking still present in the game. From what I've heard that the campaign plays really smooth. I feel like the multiplayer plays really well. So overall, I'm just really excited about it, and I'm happy for all the Halo fans that have been there's some big time streamers that have been playing it a little bit more, just kind of getting back into it, and I'm excited for them because they seem like they're enjoying it also, and that's great for the game as a whole. Getting more exposure to bigger streamers is something that we've been missing, and it's great to see some of those older players come back, especially with Infinite news coming out today.
Mm-hmm. No, definitely, and we'll definitely be going in balls deep on a lot of that here coming up on the show. That's obviously going to be our big topic for the week here, but on my end, as a lot of you guys know who are listening, and because we had some tuning in yesterday, we started a new Let's Play series on Wednesdays. We're going through playing all of the Halo games leading up to Halo Infinite. Started yesterday with, obviously, Halo CE on Legendary playthroughs. Played for about 2.5 hours or so. They'll usually be somewhere around that range. I think at least my math with it, and I budgeted out to, okay, we're expecting mid-November is when Halo Infinite's probably going to release. That's probably when the Xbox Series X is going to come out. So boiled it down to that it'll like come right up on that if we play once a week or whatever. So Wednesdays moving forward, we're going to have that. One of us will be playing Halo. It will probably be me every Wednesday over, at least right now, on my Twitch channel, twitch.tv/Travis_. We'll eventually be soft launching our Twitch account as well for the show, but to be quite honest, I just didn't get the graphics done in time, and I didn't want to mess with it. So that'll eventually be taken care of, and it'll be eventually phased over to there. But yeah, so every Wednesday we're going to be doing that. But so I've been playing Halo CE. I've been going back and playing that. Outside of that, too, Adam and I kind of talked about it last week. I was excited for Ghost of Tsushima. That's obviously a PS4 game, so I'm not going to go into that. I've been playing a lot of that, too. But I also been trying to get into Sea of Thieves as well. A game that I've never really, I've always just, dipped a toe in really quick and got out. Never actually tried to fully commit. Never tried to actually want to get in and, fully get into that ecosystem and that world that's there, that live service that they offer. And I love Rare. So I've been kind of itching to get in to have a game like that I could play on stream, I could play with our community, I can do things like that, because I've been thinking, I could do a Sea of Thieves Saturday or something on our stream or whatever, and, Saturday mornings, that could be something we do, but it's something I want to get into. I only got to play a little bit, but I'm probably playing that Saturday on stream, so look forward to that. Outside of that, that's pretty much been it. Unfortunately, I know that's the cardinal sin some people like to think for some reason of talking on Xbox show. I've been playing a PS4 game mostly, just because it's fucking great. But yeah, so at least on the Xbox front, it's been kind of quiet, but it's going to start ramping up as we start kind of getting into all the rigmarole that's going to be going on with Xbox leading up to the Series X. So, Mike, outside of that, I think it's time for Button Mash. Let's head into some quick hit news stories here before we head into our big topics. Well, I say big topics, but for this week, there's one big topic that we're going to be talking about. But let's hit on some of these quick hits first. So, Microsoft has announced that in the lead up to the Xbox Series X, the company will cease production on the Xbox One X and the Xbox One S All-Digital Edition. The standard Xbox One S will be manufactured and available for purchase moving forward, which is pretty fucking wild if you ask me. That's kind of ass backwards, but we'll talk about that once we kind of roll through this. Microsoft is officially no longer selling 12-month Xbox Live Gold plans ahead of the Xbox Series X's launch. Microsoft confirmed the change to TrueAchievements.com, stating that even though the 12-month plan is not being sold, quote-unquote, at this time, the 3-month and 1-month plans are still available for purchase. Quote, at this time, Xbox has decided to remove the 12-month Xbox Live Gold SKU from the Microsoft Online Store. Microsoft representative said, customers can still sign up for 1-month or 3-month Xbox Live Gold subscriptions online through the Microsoft Store. Metacritic, the popular review aggregates website, has decided to delay user reviews for new games until 36 hours after they've been released, in defense against quote-unquote review bombing that saw ahead of The Last of Us 2 and stuff, because, you know, straight white males are really offended by seeing a woman in charge. Shocker.
It's something that unfortunately is necessary. It feels like as a media platform and as a media member, you should be held to a higher standard, and gamers in general, whenever you're reviewing games. I mean, if you are actually in a position where your review can be taken any seriously, feels like you should have more of a responsibility personally to take it serious and do the right thing. So it's a shame that a 36-hour embargo has to be placed, but personally, I would almost like to see him go like a week, because I really think 36 hours is still way too soon. You should have a week to kind of digest everything, but good on them for making the change, honestly.
Yeah, definitely. And that's really speaking specifically to the gamer reviews compared to, you know, critic reviews, but there are a lot of fan run sites and different things like that will post under, who don't necessarily fall under the critic review, who want to give the general fan review, that don't get review copies or, you know, codes given to them or anything like that for review. You know, and that does, you know, affect, you know, people do take, you look at games like The Witcher and, you know, Half-Life and things like that, these games that are so cherished to so many gaming communities, and you look at their gamer score compared to sometimes their critic score, and it's through the roof, like it's completely different. So it is valid, like gamer reviews, the hands-on reviews, maybe not from a necessarily, you know, critical eye, where it's more, you know, real life application almost, you know, where it's somebody just sitting down to play it, Joe Schmo wanting to play it. Are they going to notice every little nook and cranny? And more so, how does this just feel as a normal, you know, a casual gamer to go and play that? But opening up that can of worms, you know, like I said, for some reason, straight white males, and I'm just being super fucking transparent about it, you know, for some reason, straight white males have an issue with women in power and, you know, people who are a part of the LGBTQ community that, you know, for some reason, anytime they're in a position of power, that rattles them for some fucking reason. But, you know, it must suck to be that much of a virgin. I don't know what to say. So, anyways, moving on. The physical edition of Microsoft Flight Simulator for PC will ship on 10 discs and with paper manuals akin to.
There you go, Travis. You love your physical media, bud.
Fuck yeah,
there you go, buds.
Fuck yeah, man, give it to me. I love that. Like, seeing that when I first saw that headline late last week kind of pop up, I was just dying laughing, because I'm like, that's so akin to years past with Flight Simulator. You always think of the big fucking textbook instruction manual you used to get back in the day. That's awesome. And realistically, like, for how detailed Microsoft Flight Simulator is, like the new one, and how like the intense the graphical fidelity is going to be, like, it doesn't shock me if it's 10 discs worth of fucking like data that you're actually getting, and majority of that probably being high-res texture. So in all seriousness, though, that is kind of cool that we're getting to see something like that. That'll be a cool collector's item if people do want to order that. So Halo 3, yes, we just talked about it, getting a new skull added to its PC release on MCC titled Acrophobia, which is a modifier that lets players fly around the map. So I would actually do want to get in and try that out. But according to a survey conducted by GDC of almost 2,500 game developers, one in three developers, I should say, revealed that their games were delayed as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic that has halted many industries as companies scrambled to shift from work from home to the work from home model. Shocker. Beyond Light, the upcoming expansion for Destiny 2, has been delayed from its original release date of September 22nd to November 10th, and its latest season of Arrivals, will also be extended to that November 10th date as well. A listing for an alleged alpha version of the 2020 Call of Duty game has appeared on the Microsoft Store, titled The Red Door. It's listed as a shooter, and the description reads as follows: "There is more than one truth. If you go looking for answers, be ready to question everything and accept that nothing will ever be the same. The red door awaits. Do you dare to step through it?" So, kind of leaning into those Cold War leaks that we heard about. Definitely excited to kind of see where that goes, because I love shit like that. It's very almost Control-esque. So, Madden 21 will remove the Washington Redskins team name and logo. In a statement to Kotaku, EA said, "We are pleased to see Washington's decision to change their name and visual identity. We are quickly working to update Madden NFL 21 to feature a generic Washington team while we await final word on the updated team name and logo design." Mike, this comes home to you. NHL 21 will in fact be coming out in October this year, but EA has confirmed that no next-gen version will be coming with it this year, like very much akin to the this past generation when it comes to NHL. Waiting a year to come out on next-gen systems. Rocket League will officially be going free-to-play later this summer, which is pretty cool. And it seems like it's handling it much like CSGO did when it went free-to-play, getting a Prime membership to those who had paid in the past and whatnot. And finally, Ubisoft has confirmed that Assassin's Creed Valhalla and Watch Dogs Legion will be launching at $60 on both Xbox Series X and PS5, ahead of Take-Two announcing last week that NBA 2K21's next-gen editions will launch at $70. So, Mike, before we kind of head into our recap of the Xbox Game Showcase, anything from our button mash quick hits kind of stand out to you that, really kind of resonate or feel like, really warrants a bigger discussion, I guess?
I guess the biggest things for me, we already kind of talked about the review embargo, or which I think is, very important. The no longer selling 12-month Xbox Live Gold plans is kind of interesting. The ceasing of producing Xbox One X and Xbox One S is relatively interesting. And for me personally, a big thing is the NHL 21 news. Not surprised, because I don't know that EA and integration, or basically I'm not surprised that EA is going to take the lazy way out with it. They've probably already done a significant amount of coding for the game and designing of the game, so it does kind of make sense. I'm basically just ready to be, I don't know. EA as a developer and NHL, the games they make, is just, it leaves some things to be desired overall. So it's not surprising, but that's fine. And good on Madden for kind of accommodating the change that the Redskins are electing to make here leading up to this new season.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. Kind of you starting, I guess, from the top there. The 12-month gold subscriptions no longer being available, I thought was pretty big, but to me, it isn't as shocking as I would think, though it is kind of counterproductive to Microsoft being very, quote-unquote, for gamers right now, with, wanting options on top of options on top of options for you in terms of their services. But, it makes sense to think that, okay, well, whatever it is, Microsoft, or I think Xbox Live is like already $10 or $12 a month, if you just do it, on a monthly basis or whatever. If you take away the ability to do a 12-month subscription, because really then you're paying for half of what it would be necessarily if it's at $10 a month, which I think it actually is, or it used to be at least.
Yeah, it's like $60 a month, because mine's like automatically will just deduct from my account.
Right, yeah, and that's how I have mine set up. But I think I remember seeing it as 1 month is like $10. So really, you're saving half the price if you're going in and doing that. But at the same time, this does kind of lean into, okay, well, it's clear that now with xCloud becoming integrated with Game Pass later this year, it's clear that they're wanting to push Game Pass Ultimate. That if you have Game Pass Ultimate, you have Xbox Live, you have Game Pass, you have Game Pass on PC, and now you have xCloud. So, it makes sense for them to do that, because at the end of the day, realistically, they are just providing you more value than just, because realistically, let's be honest. I mean, there is no reason, for the most part, and granted, I always felt pretty comfortable paying for Xbox Live because of knowing how the money went into Microsoft servers, and Microsoft servers being so good because of that from a protection standpoint, at least up until a certain point, whenever my Microsoft account got hacked, after 10 years, but, I was pissed off about that, but, to me, though, in 2020, let's be realistic, you shouldn't be paying for online.
Right.
You shouldn't. I mean, the PC model is so far and above the best way to handle online multiplayer and the way that it's shown that, okay, you look at Valve, you look at Blizzard, you look at Epic, you look at all these companies that are doing one game, and they're getting as much as, Microsoft would for all of their games, and they're doing it free of charge. I don't need to pay Epic to go and play Fortnite online. Their servers can handle it. They're good. And that's what you're supposedly buying into with Microsoft is, well, they're charging you to play online because it keeps the servers intact, and it's for maintenance, and it's for, plus you get games with gold and yada yada, and I get that. That's cool, and I don't mind buying into those services because I get discounts and things like that if I want to buy it, but in 2020, I think we can all agree that we probably shouldn't be paying to play online. I even think it's kind of asinine that World of Warcraft isn't more free to play than it is already. People are paying to play an MMO. I could see buying in Prime subscription or something like that where you get extra added things every month. You get a monthly gold allotment or something like that. And I'm talking, I guess, with MMOs in general, but just things like that I can understand, but at the basis of you being able to just play online with your friends, come on now. Technology is advanced enough.
That's one of the reasons why I didn't even get into WoW back in the beginning of it all.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't justify paying a subscription to play a video game. It was so asinine to me. But it did really well then and continues to do really well with numbers now. But yeah, I mean, it's definitely something that if you're gonna make me pay for Xbox Live, that's cool. But if you give me the option to have Ultimate for a reasonable price and I'm getting all that benefit, it does make sense for them to just kind of, axe the 1 year price.
Yeah, and I mean, World of Warcraft, it is $15 a month to play. $15. And now, granted, you get it, you can get in, I think, outside of the newest expansion. You have to pay for the newest expansion, which I think is Battle for Azeroth still. I don't think the new one released yet. I don't know. I've been out for a while, at least balls deep into it. You do get all the expansions up until that. But at the same time, then again, Blizzard makes an asinine amount of money. It's do you really need to fucking, charge people $15 a month for WoW? Really? I don't know. It's just kind of meh. We're kind of past that point with technology that we know that's kind of bullshit. So, but the biggest thing I think out of all of this to me is the whole idea that the Xbox One X, the One S all digital, I could see being phased out, but the One X being the one that's actually phased out compared to the One S is pretty crazy to me, because I figured that would be oh, here's your entry level to Xbox now. This is overtaking this because it was already starting to go on sale at $299 regularly, the same price as the One S for the longest time. So okay, that would be a natural fit for that, system to go to be, hey, here's the entry level model now to get into our ecosystem. It's the Xbox One X. You'll be able to do 4K, to a degree, and 30 frames, but if you want to do 4K 60 plus 120 whatever, you have to buy the Series X or Series X. To me, I feel like the Xbox One S is could potentially hinder some aspects of not only player experience but developing games in general. And I know a lot of Phil Spencer came out, and Adam and I talked about it last week, where he was very adamant of don't worry about us supporting the Xbox One. It's not going to interfere with what games could be and this and that and yada yada. But the base Xbox One hardware struggles to do 1080 at times.
Right.
So, like, if you ask me, if we're going to a generation where 4K 60 is, like, at least for Microsoft, is, like, being the standard bearer, how does that, like, technology still fit in there? Like, I just don't get that. Like, I'm more of a software guy, I guess, than a hardware in terms of actual, like, when it comes down to raw power and things like I know I can build a computer with no problem, but at the same time, like, some aspects I'm like, well, Jesus, I don't know, fuck, I don't know, like, so this to me is a little, it's just confusing. I just figured, I guess it just goes against the grain, which could be a good thing, could be a bad thing, could pay off, but at the same time, like, maybe the Xbox One S is going to eventually become that streaming box for xCloud or something like that works better for some reason. I don't know, but unless what it's costing to produce the Xbox One X still is, like, asininely too expensive, I don't know. It just is confusing to me in general. So, I don't know, man. But, Mike, I think it's time to talk about the big news for the day. The Xbox Games Showcase.
Oh, baby.
And it was really cool. I was able to time it perfectly, like, with I actually got pulled. I had to go into the office today for, like, a little bit to grab something and, like, do a couple of small things, but still working at home, so I was like, perfect, I'll time perfectly with my lunch break, and I, like, got home just in time to, like, get ready and start the stream before it started, but I was able to do live reacts to it, and it went absolutely fucking phenomenal. Thank you everyone who did come and chat and chill and, got to, revel in the excitement of the event. It was really cool to get to spend that with some of our viewers and whatnot. So, thank you everyone for coming out to that. But, man, this event, like, it's weird because, like, there's so many positive things that have come out from it that I have a big, like, to me, there's still vastly more positives to take away from it than negatives. I think overall it was a good showing. Like, I keep saying, like, 7.58 showing from Microsoft with it.
Yeah.
Like, there was a lot of good stuff. Like, some of the people are like, man, I didn't see substance from, Microsoft out of this. And I'm like, well, to be quite honest, they did show a lot of stuff. They did show a lot of things that, half of it was stuff we knew was coming, but a lot of it is newer stuff. Like, maybe it doesn't speak to you, but it speaks to some people. Like, and it's good that they are now showing, hey, these are games that are only going to be on Xbox, in the Xbox ecosystem, whether on PC, Xbox One, or Xbox Series X. I gotta get that ramble down a little bit.
Yeah, there's a lot of Xboxes going on. Yeah, it's tough.
But, overall, I thought the event was fine. It didn't to me. Now, granted, obviously, if you're listening to this, you probably did see all the events, so it's not like, or all the reveals and things like that, so it's not spoilers or anything like that, but, like, obviously, finally, fucking holy shit, Fable being announced, that was big. That was, finally saying, okay, yes, Playground Games is officially making a new Fable game. That was hype. That was great to get to talk, get to actually
at least know that it's
just
coming.
Say, like, yes, this was the worst kept secret in gaming for, like, well over a year now. Here it is. It's real. Like, we can all say, yes, it's happening. But there was a lot of stuff that kind of was like a lot of good stuff, but a lot of expectable things. And maybe that's because, like, my expectations I thought were pretty in check, but there were a lot of people, and granted, everything, especially given what's going on in the world right now, plans change, things change. We just read that 1 in 3 development teams have suffered delays because of, or setbacks because of, the pandemic going on. So things do change by all means, and, timetables shift and whatnot, but it felt like it was going to be a bit bigger. There was no real flashy wow moment. Like, when I think of the PS5 event, I think of, okay, that Spider-Man Miles Morales reveal. I think of the new Ratchet and Clank reveal. I think of we saw the system at the end and whatnot like that, but you see there's a couple of big marquee titles in there that you weren't necessarily expecting, but have weight to them, have name weight to them. I don't think Fable has that for people.
Not anymore. Yeah.
But outside of the Xbox fan base, I guess. If you're an Xbox fan, if you're a long-term Xbox fan, yes, that carries some weight to you. You're fucking hyped. So it's stuff like that to me it just didn't hit home. So like, I guess right off the top, what overall, not any game specific, I guess, what were your thoughts on the event just in general?
Yeah, I thought the event was, I enjoyed it just because it was kind of it wasn't long and dragged out for game reveals. It was just kind of like, boom, 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 here's what's in the works. Now, obviously,
and
there was a lot
of CG. There was a lot of CG trailers. There wasn't a ton of gameplay.
Exactly. So we didn't see much gameplay. So it is what it is. I probably wouldn't give them an 8.5. I'd probably give them like a 7. A hard 7 is probably fair. They had a really good opportunity seeing what Sony had to offer first before their release. And I feel like they could have capitalized on a few different things. Releasing the price is a big deal. Didn't do that. Obviously, if your big game is Halo, and that's the one that you're going to come out swinging with, maybe would have liked to seen something more. The game's been in development for 5 years. They swear it's on time. Newsflash, it's not coming out on. I know everyone's like, yeah, it's going to come out. Well, if it comes out, it's going to come out like Master Chief Collection was right off the bat, and it's going to be a broken pile of shit. And that's 343's problem if they do that, because they want to get the game out, even though it's not going to be ready. Which, how it can't be ready in 5 years, I have no clue. We'll continue that on the Halo talk, because we will talk about that. I don't want to get into too long of a winded answer here. However, it is relevant to say that if that's the game that you really want to try to get fans to come back to, you got to do something better than 8 minutes of campaign gameplay, which, by the way, 4 of it was gameplay, and the other 4 was just Master Chief running around and doing other things. So it's really cool to see the open world concept. I know on this show, you have kind of exposed that was an idea, whether it was leaked, whatever the case may be. You have talked about that you could see that being a realistic possibility. So kudos to you for kind of shouting that out. I was looking for something out of the game or out of the campaign that I knew advanced movement wasn't going to go away. You would be naive to think that sprint and clamber and all that garbage was going to go away. They spent way too much time and effort coding it for Halo 5. It wasn't going to go away. So that wasn't a big shock to me. Seeing the leak come out and everything for the grappling hook, it is what it is. They had a really good opportunity with their games that they had coming down the pipe to really make a splash. And again, it feels like another year that Microsoft just kind of pisses away an opportunity to really try to compete with Sony. And again, it is what it is. Microsoft is going to benefit greatly from kind of having all the games be combined in PC, which is going to be awesome for them.
And Game Pass.
Yeah, but by and large, you're just talking about a situation where felt like they had a really, really strong opportunity to kind of make a big splash, and felt like they kind of flubbed it big time.
Yeah, and you're talking about Halo. Well, let's just jump into it, I guess. And there was a great write-up over on IGN that kind of had all of this information laid out. Matt Purslow put it together. As always, I'll keep a link in the description. This is really our only news story today because it's going to be so in depth. And I'm sure we're going to ramble at times about some of this stuff just because we're passionate about it. So as always, link in the description. Go over there. Matt did a great job of getting everything out, getting it all out in order that we viewed it too, which is always important to me whenever we're going through all of this. So Halo Infinite obviously was the centerpiece of this show. This was what it was built around. This is this is the tentpole experience that Microsoft is wanting you to buy into the Xbox Series X. This is what they want to lead the charge into next gen with, whether we like it or not. And some people do, some people don't. It is what it is. But going into this event, this was billed as, hey, here is the marquee title that you're going to see today, and they opened the show with it, which a lot of people are like, do we open the show, do we close it? And my thing was, okay, well, if they open the show with this, that means that they're taking the marketing approach of, okay, we're starting this. Boom, let's do this. Let's show this. Not let's get this out of the way, but we know you're here for this, and we're showing you this now. Man, what do they got down the tunnel? I got to stay tuned and see the rest of this. You know, which I like. And that, I think, also maybe messed with people's expectations a little bit, but it's the internet. People are always going to be overhyped. People are look at fucking Nintendo Directs. My god, Nintendo did a mini Direct that was less than 10 minutes this week that announced like 2 games, and they said verbatim was like, these are going to be from games we've already announced and games that are from our publishing partners, not our first party studios. And people are flooded with like, can't wait to see Zelda, can't wait to see Breath of the Wild 2, can't wait to see Mario Odyssey 2, I'm gonna see this, and like, what the fuck? Like, so
you're not, because you didn't read.
Yeah. Right, and that's what you see a lot of people too, who are a bit like, dude, where was multiplayer with Halo? Where was, I wanted beta access, and I wanted, which both are very, very, very important. I would love to see those, but they were very adamant of, hey, we're gonna show campaign, we at least want to get gameplay out to you. We know that is, you know, integral into what we're trying to sell. So,
yeah, it was supposed to happen a year ago. We were promised gameplay a year ago.
Yeah.
That didn't come to fruition. We were promised it this year. It's what we got. We got campaign footage, which, again, I am a fanatic of the Halo campaigns. I think, you know, they're very good.
Mm-hmm.
I just think that if you were really trying to take some momentum into the next gen, you had to show people multiplayer. And if you're working on a battle royale, you had to tease that. I can understand if the game's not ready for beta access, which, by the way, again, I will let it be known, the game's been in development for 5 years. It's coming out in November, FYI. You should have a beta ready if that's the case. And it's been in creation for 5 years. I understand that they had just had a little bit of a situation where they hired another art director. I don't care what your excuse is. The game's been in development for 5 years. You need to have more than 8 minutes of campaign, period, if you really want to get people interested. And it is what it is. As far as the gameplay was concerned, I was actually quite impressed with what they had to offer. Just as far as shooting and the grunts like suiciding, jumping at you, I thought that was really cool. The grapple hook, not the biggest fan of, like, if you're going to let me be able to clamber around like a crazy person, that's fine. But giving me a grapple hook, it'll be interesting to see what they do with it in multiplayer. I've been reading. It seems like they're going to try to introduce it as like a pickup, which I think would be cool. It'd be a way to kind of balance it, I suppose. It'll be interesting to see what they do with the map designs, because you have to realize that when these games are developed for advanced movement, like Halo 5 was, and like a lot of the community that I follow, the Halo community that plays competitively, are like, yeah, like, don't worry, like, Halo 3 vanilla was really bad, Halo 4 and Halo Reach were really bad, you know, after a while Halo 5 got updated. But people don't understand, like, the thing about multiplayer, and when you're designing maps for all this advanced movement, you can't just strip the advanced movement out and expect the maps to play right, because they're created for advanced movement. So I understand, like, being you know, optimistic and saying, like, hey, you know, they still have some time to work on this. Like, let's kind of dial back the disappointment. Let's dial back the negativity. Don't get me wrong, like, that's all well and good, but, you know, we as a community will likely need modding support if we want to do anything with the game competitive, if they leave all that extra stuff in there. It's just, it's weird. Like I said, I will give them the benefit of the doubt and just kind of, we'll talk about, I think we can go at each angle that I want to discuss at a time, like one at a time.
So let's set the table, at least for everyone listening. If for some reason you didn't see the trailer, at least, so Matt has a write-up. He says, the Xbox Game Showcase kicked off with the trailer for Halo Infinite, giving us a new expanded look at what the next game in the beloved FPS series will offer. It was followed by footage from Halo Infinite's campaign, which is set on a freely explorable Halo ring that's several times larger than the previous 2 Halo games combined. Master Chief has access to a grappling hook that he uses to explore the landscape. We see our first look at the Banished, who act as the game's antagonists, which means brutes finally return to the series. Running at a locked 60 frames per second for the campaign, Halo Infinite is promising new mechanics and bigger battles to make the most of the Xbox Series X's power. It's due to release holiday 2020 on Xbox Series X, Windows 10 PC, Xbox One, and Game Pass. And then additionally, IGN's Ryan McCaffrey, who I'm a huge fan of, he got, obviously, with IGN being somebody who is the head of their preview team, was able to get some details ahead of the event to put up a story, whenever everything went out with Halo Infinite. He had some additional details regarding Halo Infinite's game that went up after its gameplay, basically. So 343 views Halo Infinite as a platform that kind of grows over time, that we're seeing a lot of games like Destiny and like things, but it's not viewed as a live service fashion like Destiny, like where it's mission based, things like that. Like, it's not going to be a looter shooter grinder type thing like Destiny, which a lot of people were worried about, more like mission selecting and things like. It's not like that, which is good, and that's a big weight off my shoulders, because that was when I heard Infinite, I instantly knew back in 2018 when I saw it was Halo Infinite. I knew they were going to go some direction of, this is going to be not, at the time I was saying a live service, but something that is going to be updated over time and not just in the regular fashion of a normal, esports title or first person shooter is. But it's refreshing to know it's not going down that route. So Infinite is also, as of right now, the last standalone release for the foreseeable future for Halo. So it's something that is going to get new story content continuously added to it over time. It's going to get new story elements, new campaign missions, things like that, or story arcs, I should say, probably expansions and things like that added to it over time, which is great. And then also too, it will get a free ray tracing upgrade or update after the game is out on launch for, obviously, Xbox Series X and PC. So, Mike, when you were talking about, some of the things you were kind of going through, one of the things, like I said, was the whole view of being this platform, and, how you mentioned, like, oh, well, at launch, Halo 3 struggled, and in terms of, things with its competitive gameplay and whatnot, and I hate having that approach of, to a degree, I hate having that approach with a title like this, especially having it be right now in the landscape of this industry that, you get a game out, say, The Division comes out, and even Rainbow Six Siege to a degree. Both came out, a lot of people liked what the basis of the game was. A lot of people liked what you were going to do with the game, but a lot of people felt there were so many things wrong with the game that need to be tweaked, need to be altered. There was too much microtransactions, yada yada, things like that. But we always hear about these comebacks that are made with games that, oh man, it released to poor reviews and whatever, but the team buckled down and they turned the game around. They made it into something that's a thriving community. I mean, Rainbow Six Siege right now is teetering on the brink of becoming a major esports title. I mean, it already is, but top tier echelon esports title with how much it draws in now, and the prize pool and whatnot. So we keep hearing about this almost, and I don't want to say nonchalant, because no matter how pissed off we get about these games, and a lot of issues with games usually do come from the top down. It's not necessarily just one person dicking around not wanting to do stuff, because game development's fucking hard. People who are working on these games are fucking ridiculously talented, hardworking people, that it's not just, oh, we want to do that. A lot of it is when, a lot of people are having, and rightfully so to a degree, having some criticisms with what was shown with Infinite, and specifically its art direction. You look at the Banished and the Brutes from Halo Wars 2, and going from that to Halo Infinite's reveal, and it's looking like it's going from a modern day game to Halo 3.
Right.
And me personally, I have no fucking issue with how a game looks. I don't care how, I'm just not I'm more like, oh, that's a cool art direction. I don't care if it's like, I don't want it to look like, I don't care if it look like I could see every single pore on somebody's skin. I don't fucking care about that. I'm more worried about, you know, I like to see a cool art direction taken. Like, it doesn't have to be completely realistic, as long as the game's fucking fun to play. Like, that's what I'm more worried about with this game. And to me, there, like you were saying, there were some positives from that gameplay that I liked a lot. To be honest, I thought I would fucking hate the grappling hook. In all honesty, I thought I would absolutely hate it. But because I felt like they were going to do it more in the style of Doom Eternal's grappling hook, which worked great for that game, but Doom and Halo are vastly different games. I mean, vastly different titles. I mean, they're obviously,
just a little. They're
obviously both first-person shooters, but Halo is much more of a methodical, you know, and even tactical compared to Doom FPS. Right. It is a much slower-paced FPS game that is trying to accomplish something completely different on so many different levels than Doom is trying to do, where it's just fast-paced, don't worry about healing, just keep moving, move, boom, 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 where Halo, it's just a slower-paced title comparatively. And to me, I was like, okay, they're going to try to shoehorn in this grappling hook just to put something new in and try to evolve, where I don't necessarily think that needs evolve, but it seems much more of an optional than a required tool within his tool belt.
I will say that if
like
it's open world,
it doesn't look like oh man, I need to have this to do everything under the sun in this game. Where it's more like, no, you can. It's like a grenade. Like, you don't need a grenade to get past an enemy necessarily, but that's another tool you have in your arsenal that you can use, and another thing to implement your strategy. And I'm sure, I don't want to say I'm sure, but knock on wood, I would hope something like that in competitive play and things like that when we go onto the multiplayer side probably won't be there. You know what, I would hope so, at least on competitive ends. You know, it wouldn't be there. I'll let you go on that one, but I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but go ahead.
No, I feel like, you know, the grappling hook makes a lot more sense when it's open world. If it was like a closed campaign where it's linear and you're kind of being, you know, pushed through in the method that they want you to be, then it would raise more concerns. But the fact that you can traverse a Halo ring and kind of freestyle and do your own thing makes a whole lot of sense to give Chief a grappling hook. And let's be honest, he's a Spartan. He probably should have had more tools at his disposal before. Like, it all just kind of makes sense, right? Like you said, you would hope that it's not going to make it into competitive play. But Halo 5, 343 left storm rifles in. They left radar in. They left shoulder charge, ground pound, and other bullshit in for way too long. So I have zero faith when it comes terms to that. And again, if we're able to mod the game and make changes, then there's no doubt in my mind the community will come up with something reasonable.
And I definitely think having this game simultaneously release on PC is going to help a lot of that. And I think that's going to help in terms of my opinion with how I've seen games go in terms of their PC, because PC will always be first and foremost the choice when it comes to competitive play if given. You know what I mean?
If the opportunity is there.
Right. So, and I fully expect that I would imagine that both, more so Microsoft than 343, but Microsoft knows that ahead of what's going to happen, you know, with this launch, that they know going into that PC is going to probably be, when it comes to the competitive aspect of this game, probably going to be first and foremost what's going to be used. Now, controller, mouse, and keyboard is going to be a whole other, you know, it's going to be a whole other conversation at hand, but when you're talking about modding this game in terms of, you know, Forge mode and whatnot in this game is going to be, and we saw it even with Halo 5 with the PC Forge app, you know, we're going to see, I think, so much the game have itself written by the community in such a bigger way than previously, especially the last two titles that have come out.
Absolutely. And again, like the El Dorado team that made the Halo Online game, like, you know, I know they got, like, they were treated pretty poorly by 343 is basically what it comes down to. I've read a lot of those guys' sides of the story. Obviously, haven't heard much from 343, but basically it sounds like that El Dorado team was promised some things by 343. Yeah, we'll let you help us with Halo 3. Yeah, we'll let you help us with this, that. They end up getting the shaft, which, I mean, it's, you know, expected, right? But I don't have a whole heck of a lot of faith in Quinn Del Hoyo as the sandbox director. He talked a big game when it came to Halo 5, and then when it came time to deliver, it wasn't satisfactory. So we'll see what happens. He would be on Twitter trying to tell people basically how, we should experience the game, or how, basically it's like, well, this is how the team wanted you to experience the game, basically deal with it and overcome and adapt. And to a certain point, I can respect that.
Yeah, I mean, at some point, it's like, okay, that's what it kind of comes into the conversation of your that's going against the creative and artistic vision of what this game was meant to be,
which is fair. That's absolutely fair.
But there's that also has a certain perimeter around it that you can go outside of that, and then that point's a little like, okay, well, you do also preach that you want the community to have this game and run with this game and have fun with this game. Okay, well, they're trying to. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and my biggest thing with that whole mess was, we're the consumer, and we are the ones that are traveling to your Halo tournaments, and we don't want to play these settings. They suck. I don't want to fly the whole way to Texas or Denver or LA and play these shitty default settings. They suck. Fix them. This is what needs fixed. You would send them footage of things, and there was just excuse after excuse as to why it wouldn't be remedied. And that's all multiplayer stuff. Strictly speaking, on the campaign that we saw today, I am, like I said, relatively pleased. The biggest concern for me, and I know you say I don't really care how the game looks, and I kind of feel that way too. I'm looking for performance, but them only committing to 60 frames per second is a big red flag for me. I know a lot of people who are basically on Twitter just took the stance of well, if you don't want to play it on 60 frames, play it on your PC, quit crying. And it's yeah, but you keep touting this powerful Xbox that it's going to be able to do all these insane frames, and then your flagship game's going to run on 60.
Well, see, that's my big thing with the Xbox Series X still, is that, okay, you're touting this thing can do potentially 120 frames, standard with some games that you want on there. I'm sure maybe not. I can't imagine it's going to be 4K 120 or something like that.
Yeah,
but there'll be games that could do 1080 120 or something like that. That's great. How the fuck are they going to do that with no DisplayPort, which is the straight up, that's the easiest implementation of being able to get access to those levels of frame rates, where HDMI 3.0, a lot of TVs that are 4K and things like that you can get that supported resolution at, don't fucking support that high of a refresh rate. They only support 60 hertz. So, how are you going to be able to do that? Okay, play it on a monitor. Okay, cool. How can I do that when, some monitors don't support HDMI 3.0 that can support the bandwidth to put out that high of a refresh rate? Okay, cool. I'll do it via DisplayPort. Well, we don't have that option. Okay, then how are you wanting to do that? That just is still the big hang up for me with that it's okay, you're treating this as a PC, basically. Cool. Treat it like a PC and give those options to be able to run it. If you're saying, oh, you want to get 120 frames per second on Halo Infinite, or before this came out, you could play up to 120 frames per second on some games. Okay, well, cool. I want to do that at 1080. Cool. Let me plug a DisplayPort into it. It just, to me, it's I still don't get that aspect. It's a great tagline to throw on something, and a great tagline to throw, to people from a marketing standpoint who don't necessarily know the ins and outs of these systems and, the tech behind them. But a lot of people do. And you're talking, Xbox always talks to a big PC market as well. It talks to a lot of PC gamers. It always has been. They've been intrinsically tied forever. That's a lot of people know the ins and outs of this. So how are they going to make that happen?
Yeah, and to me, another big concern I have is the free ray tracing update coming after launch. So I know on this show I've been critical of the fact that Infinite was going to release on time.
Mm-hmm.
Everything they are saying is concerning because it feels like they're going to release half of a game.
Yeah,
they're using the well, it's going to be like a it's not going to be a game like a service, but it's a living world. This is the only game you're getting for 5 years. So you're telling me that it gives you the free pass to be lazy as shit to get it out day one, for it to be garbage, it to be a shell of the game that you're actually going to be, like when am I going to get my, if you make the game $80, when the fuck am I getting my $80 worth? Because when you release it, it's only going to be worth $20. It's going to be a shit stain.
Well, see, that's what, what
am I going to do? Get one mission, and then you're going to be like, oh, wait 3 months for DLC to come out.
And we both have been, on opposite sides, I think, of the fence at times about this, respectfully, and that's been clear on the show before, and, but today was the first time I actually kind of thought, granted, we're seeing clearly pre-release footage of this game, and to be honest, 4 months from now is a long fucking time in game development. And to be honest, it doesn't seem like it's both not that long of a time, but it's also, you can get a lot fucking done in terms of polishing this game in 4 months. I mean, hell, look at Cyberpunk. It keeps, punting for 5 months at a time, and rightfully so, because they want to get that polish down to it. The game may be done, but they want to polish this down. Today was the first time I feared of that polish with this game, because there were tons of pop-ins with textures. That was the one thing I noticed that continuously, I went back multiple times because I was hyped. I'm still hyped about the game. I'm still excited. It's still a fucking Halo game. I'm still I love that lore, so I'm excited to go in there and play that game because the gameplay still looks fun and still looks exciting. And, I love the color palette. I love that feeling of classic Halo that they're showing from that. More so, too, I love the fact that I'm actually able to fucking see enemies comparative to Halo 5, where everything is in this glossy, dark tone, where this is vibrant. I could clearly see the contrast between, environments and objects on there. Hello, thank you, I can fucking see now. But the thing that made me hesitant so much with this was, even in going back and watching this multiple times, in the 4K version that was put out after the fact, that wasn't the compressed version or anything like that, not that would really have anything to do with it, but textures were popping in left and right and popping out and stuff. I'm like, that's not a good look. If this is your showpiece game right now, and this is a title that has been anticipated as, just keep waiting a little bit longer. I promise the wait's going to be worth for this. Wait is going to be worth it for this gameplay reveal.
And how long has that game? How long has it been in development?
Well, to be fair, for 2 of those years, they were building the slip space engine, like the tool said.
Okay.
They were building a brand new engine. I mean, fuck, that engine with Halo has been going since CE through Halo 5, and that shit's been held together with, paper clips and gum and shit like that. So, I get it, but at the same time, going through, okay, you built a new engine in 2 years, so you have 3 full years that you put into development on this game. And not that that's not very long in general, but, at the same time, you're still able to work on the art direction and a lot of things that I think a lot of people are having hesitations with this game. That's still pre-production stuff you could still do.
That's what I literally was just about to say. So basically, the joke of an art direction, I
do love Chiefs. I love Chief's look.
Well, yeah.
I love the things that they're saying, hey, we heard you about classic Halo. You want some of that style back. I think this has far, far, far more heart into it to the original Halo series than the last 2 entries. That's just me. Clearly. I'm much more... I'll play this game already any day, if you ask me personally, than the previous 2 entries, just by the look of it and what we're seeing of this, compared to, it leans much more into classic Halo than new Halo, if you ask me.
Now, I liked Halo 4, and I knew at the end of Halo 4's campaign, when you beat it on Legendary and what happens, I knew it was basically, that was it, right? Yeah. Halo, as I knew it, had died, and it was moving on, which is
Call of Duty.
And I understand,
and 343 wanted whatever.
Yeah. But to me, it's I give 343 shit all the time. They've been developing a game for 5 years, and this is the best they can come up with. But like you said, they've been building an engine for 2 years as an excuse. Well, if that's an excuse for why they didn't have very much gameplay ready, even though the game's releasing in a couple of months, like, how does the art director leaving over a year ago at this point, how does that even affect it? Because you haven't been working on the game that long then. Like, granted, you might have had a year and a half into developing the art, like, direction you wanted to go, but you've had a year and a half now to kind of go a different direction. And, like, I don't know if the art director is a tyrant or if people are afraid, but how the fuck does this picture of these brutes get into the boardroom and people say, yeah, that's great, keep it up? Like, how does the Halo Pro team, who is supposed to be former Halo professional players that are supposed to be testing the game, that are supposed to be constantly running through multiplayer to make sure that there's a good experience, how do they not, like, show up to a board meeting and say, guys, like, I don't know what's going on with this, but this isn't right. You know what I mean? Like, how the fuck is that not covered at any point? That is concerning to me, that nobody can speak up in this development team and just kind of raise a red flag. Not even, like, not a single red flag. Now, I'm sure, like, there's been people saying stuff in the boardroom meetings. I would love to be a fly on the wall for one of them, just to hear, like, where they get these ideas. But, like, how has this not been talked about at all? Yeah. Or how has this not been changed? Like, I was thinking to myself, like, well, would it do any good to bully the shit out of 343 and make them change the brutes like we did to the Sonic movie when everyone trolled the shit out of them? But, like, 343 won't listen because they won't listen to us about any fucking thing, let alone that. Like, it's like, what do you do?
I'll be completely honest though. At least with, and this is me looking at some marketing material now after the fact as well. Like, I'm just scrolling through and looking at some of the things. I'm giving somewhat of a benefit of the doubt to some of the textures, both with the brutes, both with everything. That with them streaming that gameplay and things like that, like, I think there were some technical issues with it, because some of the pre-recorded stuff that they're showing on here and whatnot does look a little bit better. But at the same time, that's still a artistic, and we were talking to Adam about this before. It's not necessarily like, oh, somebody was lazy on making that. It was an artistic choice to make it like that. And, like, the look in general, I don't dislike as much, but the way it was shown, I just don't think it had as good of a showing as a lot of people expected, and I think what 343 thought it was going to be. I think there was just a little bit of disconnect. And I'm still in, I'm sure people are like, man, they're really shitting on this game. Me personally, I'm still fucking really excited for this game. I can't wait to play it. The vibe of this is, like I said, much more classic Halo than new Halo. And if you like new Halo, that's totally fine. No issue there. But to me, I'm much more of a classic person myself. And I respect, to a degree, the new Halo games to what they did, but at the same time, I believe they didn't have the heart of Halo added. This feels like it has the heart of Halo added, and I'm excited to still play this game.
I hear that, and I hear them say that they are, they have classic Halo in mind, but they had really nice brutes made for Halo 2 Anniversary, and I get that they're making a new engine, but, like, at what point it is you saying that you're hearkening back to classic Halo? Like, at what point does, like, what you say and what you're when do you practice what you preach? Because it feels like the gameplay might be going back a little bit, but the art direction and everything, it is what it is. And like you said, it sounds like we're shitting on this game, and I am personally. And there's a few different reasons. Like, I did the math, and this is on main accounts. Like, I did the math recently at work because I was sitting there just wondering to myself, and I played like 30 days of Halo 2, 30 days of Halo 3, over 30 days of MCC, over 30 days of Halo Reach. Like, that's multiplayer playtime, not campaign, not Halo 1. I can't get the numbers for because there's no online. But that is me playing ranked games and social games on Halo 3, 30,000 some games on Halo 2, 30 some days worth of gameplay on MCC. Halo 5 I played for 5 days. Halo 4 I played a little bit. Halo Reach I played for 20, 30 days. Like, I have spent at least counting side accounts, 6 months to a year of my 27 years playing Halo.
Mm-hmm.
So when I come out, and listeners might think, oh, he's being overtly critical. I don't play, and I'm not trying to sound alpha. I'm not trying to sound macho.
Mm-hmm.
Every gamer gets a different experience, gets different enjoyment out of games. And
Mm-hmm.
maybe at one point in time in my life, I will progress to where I'm a lot more casual with my experience.
Mm-hmm.
At this point in my life, at 27, that part of my DNA doesn't exist right now.
Mm-hmm.
I still get on Halo 3, and I could, without blinking, put in an 8-hour day. You go to work for 8 hours a day. You go to work for 8 hours. You go home. You might watch some TV. You might play some games. You go to bed. I go to work for 8 hours a day. I go to school for 8 hours a day. My next thing I do when I come home, it's not my free time. It's not my hobby. I come home and I put 8 hours a day into playing Halo. And it's
Mm-hmm.
not, it's like a job to me. And when I have an issue with my job, when you have an issue with your job, you complain about it. You bring up concerns to your manager. Like, to me, Halo, since a long time, I did take a little bit of a hiatus for Halo 5, but it's been a huge part of my life. And I put a ton of hours into this game, getting better, practicing my craft, competing, traveling to Dallas, traveling to Atlantic City, and Halo Infinite. I'm sure I'll travel to more tournaments. If there's Halo 3 PC tournaments, I'll go to those.
Mm-hmm.
I spend my time, a lot of my free time, spending it playing Halo.
Mm-hmm.
So when I see bullshit, I'm calling it. I've sat here for long enough. I've bit my tongue for long enough. I gave things a benefit of the doubt, and I just can't sit back and do it anymore. And I'm sorry if it feels like I'm shitting on it, but honestly, my rating of the game, of what I saw in campaign, would honestly probably be like a 7 out of 10, an 8 out of 10. But based on how I talk, people would think I'm going to give it a 2 or a 1. That's not the case. I'm a very critical person. I really let people know when I think better things could have been done. But I still would give this game a 7 out of 10 as far as the campaign trailer that we saw.
Mm-hmm. No, and that's your shot. I don't want to say shots at, but your criticisms of it are valid. I mean,
and I'm not saying that my opinion is more valid than yours,
Mm-hmm.
or Joe Bob, who's
No,
played
yeah.
Halo for 10 hours. I don't want listeners to think that I'm coming off as like on a soapbox and saying I'm better than you because I've played 160 days worth of Halo in my life, and that's just on my main account. That isn't the point I'm trying to get across. The point I want to get across to people is I spent a lot of my life playing this because I genuinely loved it. And I still do love the game. And when you love something, you want it to be the best it can be. So forgive me if I'm being overtly critical. Forgive me if I'm being a little brutal at times. But there's things that I think that 343 could really capitalize on, and they just piss it away time after time again. And, we haven't seen multiplayer gameplay and everything, so we'll see. But as of right now, there's a lot of concerns. But the campaign, I'd give it a 7 out of 10 overall. 60 frames per second is brutal. I'm afraid for that, but I'm going to play it on PC, so we'll see what happens.
Yeah. Man, I knew we'd talk about it for a while. We went on for a little bit, and that's good. And I fully expected
It's the flagship game.
It's the flagship game. It rightfully so
And
deserves...
it's like one of the only games that we actually saw gameplay.
Yeah, and to be quite honest, and this isn't, I don't think, being very hyperbolic, it's one of the most important gaming franchises to us, to our gaming history, it means it has a special place in our heart, no matter what.
Right.
And the reason why I think we're critical about this, and specifically you're critical about this, is because you love that franchise. You want that franchise to, you care about it. And that's not, you just want it to do well, and you just want it to be, in a place that you want other people to have the experience you feel is the best experience. And, you just want to see this franchise survive, and this franchise thrive more so, too, in moving forward. You just want it to have the same legacy that it's been laying down, for 10 years before that, moving forward another 10 years.
Absolutely. And I am not naive enough to believe that the way I experience and enjoy Halo game, like, I only play Halo 3, Halo 2, Halo 1. I only play the hardcore game types.
Mm-hmm.
I don't enjoy playing Team Slayer on Halo 3, Halo 2, or Halo 1, it's the same thing, but like Halo 2 and Halo 3, I only enjoy playing the hardcore game types. Like, I am not naive enough to think that that's everyone else or that's how everyone else feels about the game. I'm not that naive. I'm not that dumb. Like, I get that everyone has different flavors, and I respect that. Like, Halo 3 and Halo Reach and the community has always kind of been separated as far as casual and competitive, right? That's always been the case, and I'm okay with that. But, there's a point in time where, like, it's not fun for casuals or competitive players at some point. So for me, like you said, I traveled to Dallas and Atlantic City in this past year playing Halo 3 tournaments because I wanted to support the grassroots program, because I care about Halo and I care about the esports community of Halo. And I didn't go to those tournaments because I had a chance to win them. I went to those tournaments because A, I love competing, B, I loved the game we were playing, and C, it's a great time to go meet friends and see friends again that I've been playing with for a very long time. And that's what it all comes down to with Halo. Like, I want the esports scene to thrive. It deserves that. The Halo franchise and the Halo community deserves a thriving esports scene. And I think, they could have really knocked the this reveal out of the park with no, they didn't even have to tease multiplayer, but if Battle Royale mode is in the works, they should have teased it. Like, if that is something that they have planned, it should have been teased. So that's all I'll say about Halo, because it was a campaign gameplay. I love the game. I love Halo. We'll see what happens going forward. I'm sorry for taking up so much time. It's just
no, man. No, you're good.
It's what I've been since I was 9 years old, man. The first time I put Halo 1 into my brother's Xbox my brother went to a LAN party. I remember it clear as day. We had a PS2. My brother went to a LAN party for the first time. He was 17 years old. He played Halo 1 for the first time on LAN. The next day when he came home, my mom and him went to the store and bought an Xbox and Halo. And the minute I put that disc in the tray and played it for the first time, I knew that it was over. Like, I loved GoldenEye so much because I loved the first-person shooter. It was so much fun. I played it first-person shooters on my computer, like Rainbow Six Rogue Sphere. I played Counter-Strike back then, and I played Halo, and I was like, wow, this is it. Like, this is it. So from the time I was 9, and granted I did go on a little hiatus here and there, but from 9 to 27, Halo has been a huge part of my life. So to me, it's everything in a way, you know what I mean? And at some point, like, you get tired of getting your hopes up to be destroyed, but every time I see anything about Halo come out, man, no matter, it could be the devil lure me in, here's an apple, and I would fall for it every time, and I can't help it.
Yeah, no, definitely. It'll be interesting to see how it shakes out, man. It's going to be an interesting next couple of months, because I'm sure we'll see more of it leading up, obviously, with multiplayer and whatnot. So,
but normally you do the segues, but we're going to talk about the rest of the games. Don't get me wrong, because a few of them are just lightly brushing up. But can we talk about the Game Pass Gamecast Fable call like a couple episodes ago?
I'm telling you, dude. Like, I bring what I say just comes into fruition. Like, somebody needs to give me lottery tickets. Like, I'll go.
It's either that or you have some type of inside source. And
well, to be fair,
don't expose them. But Jesus,
no. To be fair, like I think it was Eurogamer. There were a few sources that have come out over the past like 2 years now. At this point, since Playground Games had been acquired, that have been saying, like, we think it's Fable they're working on, and Eurogamer even came out and said, like, they ran basically saying, our sources indicate that, yes, a new Fable is in production with Playground Games, the developers of Forza Horizon, the Forza Horizon series. So, it's been rumored, but it's just one of those things that it's like the worst kept secret in gaming. And let's just bounce to, fuck the order. Let's just bounce right to Fable and talk about it. And we'll go back and kind of cover some other things that we were really excited about. But, Fable to me was that it's always been and we talked about this previously on previous episodes, our Fable retrospective that we did, an earlier episode. Fable's always been one of those franchises that I've hopped into here and there, but I've always, like, when it comes to RPGs, I've always tended to go a different direction, because it's always been more like action RPG or action adventure than RPG, but has RPG elements. But I always keep asking, like, okay, how can they do a Fable game in 2020? Like, how can that style of game work in 2020? Because in 2000, I think 4, when the first one came out, it really changed the RPG landscape to a degree with its morality system. Like, when it came out and it was able to do, you look at games past that on how things you've done and how in the game, how they will change the outcome and change how you're perceived, your character's perceived. You look at games after that. Red Dead is one that always comes to mind. Even Elder Scrolls adopting some of that in different RPGs like that. But you see these large-scale games taking from Fable, which was, at the time, I wouldn't say big Microsoft property when it first came out. You know, it ended up being something that smashed down the doors. But, you know, to me, I always thought, okay, how can you make a Fable game in 2020? And we still don't really see how that's possible, but clearly with the trailer we saw showing the kingdom that you're going to play in is very expansive. And granted, it's a CG trailer, but at least the proof of concept we're still seeing the British humor that is known for Fable games still live on, with how the fairy was like swallowed by a frog or whatever. And, you know, there's still a little bit of that slapstickiness to the game, but man, let's just put it this way. I'm just fucking happy this game finally was like, okay, yeah, everyone, yes, it's real. Yes, like, you all have known for how long, but we can't say it, but yes, the game is real. So, I mean, Playground Games has been hiring for a while for open world RPG positions to work on open world RPGs, like people who have experience working on those. So, I'm just happy that it's fucking finally here. That, like, people I've talked to have been like, yes, it's for sure there. And also just the honest internet rigmarole that's been going around with it, the rumor mill that's been churning. I'm just so fucking excited that game's finally, like, yes, it's happening. We don't know when, but it's coming. Because I kept seeing, like, while I'm doing, and you can see it during my live reacts over on our YouTube channel, you could see me, like, when it's going, like, each one's like world premiere and that's like console launch exclusive. I'm like, it can't be Fable. It just can't be Fable because there's no way that game's ready to go. Like,
and then they slipped it in at the end.
But then I'm like, but what if it is? Like, what if they just fuck around and Phil Spencer's like, yo, we got something. We'll give you something. We'll give you a little something. Like, you've been right for a while, Travis. But no, man, I'm excited for that. What about you? Like, what did that trailer, I guess, say to you about, you know, what the experiences we've had with Fable back in the day, and what's that kind of say for you with Fable moving forward? Is, you know, I'm guessing you're obviously excited.
I definitely feel like the third installment of the game was like, it just felt wrong that was how it ended. Mm-hmm. I'm sure Bungie, like the story of Halo Reach was so good. Don't get me wrong. Mm-hmm. So, like, I don't know that Bungie would really regret ending on that game per se, because it was a really good campaign. But it definitely feels like Xbox, Microsoft as a whole, probably regretted that Fable 3 was the last iteration of it. Mm-hmm. And I definitely am excited, more so because I'm really excited to see what they come to produce for 2020. Like, it's going to be awesome. You're going to have more freedoms and stuff, I would imagine. Mm-hmm. And I'm just glad that the series isn't over. Like, I'm glad that we're going to get another iteration, get another chance to really enjoy Fable, because Fable 1 and 2 were so special. Mm-hmm. And I'm just excited to see what they do.
Yeah, so am I. I mean, we don't have a lot to go off of, obviously. It was a really quick teaser trailer for the most part, but just knowing that a new Fable is finally coming officially really, really hits home, and it's really good. Since we've been kind of going long, I think I'm going to change it up a little bit. I'm going to kind of just go through, and we'll just touch on a couple more games here that really kind of stuck out to us. Just since we're kind of, like I said, this is really clearly, obviously, with how long we talked about Halo, very raw discussion. We're just pretty fresh off of the event ourselves. But, you know, one of the things there's one game that I want to talk about after this, but one of the things I really wanted to point out, which I really thought was interesting. So Destiny 2, obviously, it's already been announced, we talked about it before, that it is obviously coming to Xbox Series X whenever next-gen consoles launch. It's coming to both of them, and you're going to get, you know, 4K 60 and whatnot on it. It's going to be great. The one thing, though, that is really cool that's coming, and I think it's happening in September, if I read it right, I think. But Destiny 2 is coming to Game Pass. And by that I mean it's already free to play. But if you have Game Pass Ultimate, you have, or just Game Pass in general, I think, but I know for sure Game Pass Ultimate. If you play Destiny with Game Pass Ultimate, you have access to all the expansions. Every expansion that has come out. Like, you don't need to buy an upgrade edition, you don't need to do anything. It's included. And I'm pretty sure, yeah, the standard edition of Beyond Light will be included with Game Pass for no extra cost. Their next expansion that is coming out, that you'll be able to get in day one if you have Game Pass with that. So, to me, that's huge because, one, for this past whole generation, Bungie has been in a promotional and marketing-esque exclusivity rights with PlayStation, with Sony, for this whole console generation, that we've seen raids be held over on PlayStation for a month plus at a time when new stuff drops. Certain content is paywalled behind, or certain content is walled behind, the PlayStation market. They've had that, Activision has had that, deal with PlayStation, that they've kept it, some content on PlayStation only with Destiny, and Destiny's been very much intertwined with the PlayStation DNA from at least a marketing standpoint. There's been a PS4 Pro even, I believe, that was, a special edition. But to me, this is so cool, and this is really indicative of how far Bungie's come from where they were when they started with Activision, when they left Microsoft and they signed their publishing deal with Activision for a 10-year deal, ended up getting out of it and saying, this isn't what we wanted Destiny to become, we're moving on, we're doing something different, and completely switching the narrative and becoming this, leaving Activision, going out from under Activision's shadow and doing their own thing, and being able to financially, one, support the game by themselves because of how much money they've made and how successful the franchise has become because of that, but that they have complete creative freedom to do that. And it shows to me that, it's clear that Microsoft, when owning Bungie, said, hey, we want you to keep making Halo games. Bungie wanted to do something different, and that something different was Destiny, that they wanted to do Destiny, but Microsoft didn't want that. They wanted them to keep making Halo, and understandably so, but there was a separation for there, and clearly, from what we've heard, it wasn't on the best terms. So, seeing something like this is really good, because you see that there are still long-term people within that company, like Lou Smith, obviously being one of the big notable ones, the game's director, being a long-term Bungie employee, and being somebody who is so intrinsically tied to the Halo series, especially from 3 on, it's really great to see something like that happen. And I don't want exclusivity deals or anything like that. That's not what I want people to be able to play a game no matter what. So I wish people could play The Last of Us Part 2 on Xbox. I just do. I wish people could play Halo on PS4. I don't really give a shit where you play it. I'm just excited that people play games, and this is such a cool thing because it just keeps making Game Pass 1 such a big, big, big value, and such really the hands down the best service in terms of value that's in gaming right now, hands down by a long shot, by miles. But to be able to just jump right in, be included with this membership, that Destiny is one of the biggest games in the world, that you're able to go right from the get-go, and have all the content and not worry about, it's a free-to-play game, but I'm paywall behind that. Oh, well, I have Game Pass. I just fucking have everything. I can just jump in and play. So,
right.
To me, that was really cool seeing that. What else? What was the other one? Oh, and then, obviously, too, I wanted to kind of touch on, before there's a couple other things, too, I want to touch on, but just because I know how much you liked seeing that game when it showed up back in May's event, with the third party and partner gameplay reveal with the Xbox that they did. The Medium from Bloober Team. We saw a new trailer for that. It's coming holiday 2020. It says, I believe it's going to be a console launch game for the Xbox One or Xbox Series X. I keep doing that. I don't think ever get over it for a while. But it really, and now actually seeing some hard gameplay from it, what was really cool is showing that, okay, they're going to be, it takes place in two different, basically, realities almost, and, it's split down the middle, that you'll actually be playing two separate scenes at the same time in two different realities. like one in this like hellish landscape and one in the real world, and it's rendering all of that at the same exact time on the same exact screen. One, I just thought of, well, fuck, like, this is going to show, like, how good the cooling system in this game, or in the Xbox Series X should be, hopefully, because that's going to be a fucking bear to make, like, to cool that thing down with how much it's going to be, like, humming, trying to render both of those things in 4K 60 at the same time. But, Mike, what'd you think about that? Because I know you were high on that game whenever we first saw it.
Yeah, I mean, it's just really exciting to see some of, like, you know, these games that you're really hyped about to kind of just see be announced, or you kind of hear rumors and you just kind of get excited, especially with the work that has previously been done by the team over at Bloober. I'm just thrilled, you know, to kind of see some more concrete evidence of what they're working on, and that would, I mean, that's pretty much a blanket statement for, you know, the new Outer Worlds DLC. Avowed looks really good. I'm sure.
Yes.
I'm sure we'll touch on that. But like a lot of these games, like Forza. I mean, Forza. I know that it's engine, you know, footage, but like a lot of these games, man, like these teams are working really hard to get this work done. Especially with everything that's going on, you know, with COVID and everything. I'm just really stoked that these developers have been able to continue working on their games. And the medium, I mean, I'm psyched for it. Like, I just, like, I can't wait to kind of take a break from Halo Reach and play the medium on stream, basically. Like, 8 hours to stream in Halo, or it's not Reach, it's 8 hours of streaming Halo Infinite, and now I get to throw on the medium to close it out. You know, like, I'm just thrilled with it. Again, it looks incredible. It looks to be just kind of what I'm looking for in a horror type game, and you know, I'm just thrilled to finally see it to come true, and especially with it still being due holiday 2020, they're still holding to that. Again, won't be surprised if it's delayed, but you know, the fact that they are still talking about it coming out in holiday 2020 is really thrilling.
Yeah, definitely. Oh, for sure. Yeah, so that's another one that's really high on my list. Everwild looked great. Just kind of running through some of these. Tetris, yeah. I was actually really surprised to see Tetris Effect come over after being such a smash hit over on, specifically on in PlayStation's ecosystem, and more specifically on their VR. Tetris Effect is such a huge fucking game under PlayStation VR. Seeing the non-VR version, obviously, come over to Xbox, get a new branded edition called Connected, which has new co-op and competitive multiplayer modes, and you can play them online, locally, everything like that. That's coming holiday 2020. I'm pretty sure is going to be a console launch exclusive, if I remember correctly. The Gunk from SteamWorld, the creators of the SteamWorld franchise, SteamWorld Dig 2 specifically, is one of my favorite indie games of all time. So as soon as I saw that, and as soon as I saw Image and Form, I was like, yep, I'll at least try it. If it's, especially it's coming to Game Pass, I'm for sure going to fucking try it. You know, anything that Image and Form put out, I'm instantly interested in. Crossfire X, the single player that's being developed by Remedy, like Remedy's, one of Remedy's, like their A team is developing the single player for Crossfire X. The trailer that we got for that actually looks fucking great. Like, I know that the multiplayer beta that was put out was not very well received. Most people got a meh at the highest. But the single player for it looks fucking sick. Like, it looks like a Remedy game. It has so many Control vibes to it. It reminds me almost of one of the newer generation Fast and Furious movies, but just looks like it's going to have much better dialogue and writing to it. Which is great. Like, it looks like almost like a Hobbs and Shaw type of like action game or action movie-esque, like popcorn blockbuster, just with better writing to it. So really excited about that. Great to see Undead Labs putting out State of Decay 3. I've always wanted to get into the State of Decay franchise. Mike Collins, actually, he was in chat, one of the people in chat talking to me. He was like, it's a game franchise that always ends up getting installed onto my hard drive, and I uninstall it for space. Like, I have the desire to play it, but I never get around to play it. And I kind of have that same feeling because I do like games like 7 Days to Die and things like that, and that very much fills some of those voids that are in there. So, yeah, I'm just happy to see that team now being a Microsoft fully owned first party studio, actually getting the funding to, go through and actually keep making projects like that, and probably make that project at a much bigger, funding overall, now being a fully owned Microsoft first party studio. So it was, like you touched on, DLC for the Outer Worlds that was coming. I actually didn't expect that. I figured it would be, we were going to see maybe before even Avowed, like maybe something in that world again, because it was, the Outer Worlds is relatively a smaller title compared to a lot of other RPGs, but it's cool that we're getting DLC with that, which is cool. So I'm not against it. I'll try it, especially it's coming to Game Pass. I'll fucking try it. I need to finish the Outer Worlds first and foremost. I did like it, but kind of got burnt out at some point. I'd like to get back to that, but tell me why we finally got a release date for that. I've been really high on that game too, because I'm such a huge fucking fan of Don't Nod. Don't Nod Entertainment is one of my favorite developers with Life is Strange. I'm super excited for that. It's also touching on a lot of really, really important social and just different things going on in our lives that are real stories that people need to, or real elements to the story. I know it's about like having kind of supernatural powers and stuff. Obviously not that, but more so I'm talking about dealing with, transgender rights and things like that, like real applicable things that are going on in our world right now that those stories need to be told and need to have a voice, because those things are real and happening, and we need to talk about them and how they, people who are transgender have rights and whatnot. So, I'm excited to play through that because the message looks great, and I'm really excited to, just experience that narrative, writing and the narrative voice, I guess, is what I'm looking to get from Don't Nod, because I just love everything that's Life is Strange, and they can do no wrong in my book. And then lastly too, we got some stuff about Hellblade 2, just saying, hey, it's going to be set in Iceland. Cool. I was hoping to see some gameplay trailer for it, but I guess Hellblade's a little bit farther off than people are expecting. But the one game that I really did want to, like, just kind of, before we start wrapping it up here, Avowed. So that was Obsidian's third project that they had in the works, outside of, obviously, the Outer Worlds and the DLC that's now coming with that. That team's working on that. Grounded, a small team, is working on that. This is the other project that was in the works from Obsidian, which really, for the longest time, people obviously were expecting it's going to be some kind of RPG, but it looks like it's trying to fill that Elder Scrolls void that we're not getting. It's a first-person fantasy game.
And I'm all here for it.
Yeah, I'm all here for it. And, like, coming from the developers of Pillars of Eternity, which is a game and a franchise that I've always wanted to get into and just never have for some reason. I don't know why. I've always wanted to, but just never have pulled the trigger on it. It's taking place in that world. It's set in Eora, which is, like, the fantasy world that Pillars of Eternity takes place in, which I didn't realize during all this. I even said on stream, I'm like, I kind of hope it's not in Pillars of Eternity, because I want something completely fresh and new. That, not that I don't want my Xbox Game Studios to be the home of Pillars of Eternity by any means, but I want something unique to Xbox Game Studios that's like, okay, they came here and they made this, and this is an Xbox franchise now. Like, that you don't associate it with anything else but Xbox. I was hoping to get that. But you know what? This can still be that, because that part of it seems to be on the back burner. It seems to be more focused on, this is a wholly new story. This is something unique that we're looking to tell with this. And Avowed looks fucking great. They already have, first person, dual wielding, one with magic, one with sword. Which is how I play most Elder Scrolls games. I usually go one-handed combat with focus on like recovery and focus on like healing and things like that. That's usually how I play, so I'm excited for that. That spoke right to me. Mike, anything else really that stuck out before we kind of wrap it up, go into party chat, and then close out the episode?
Not too much. You've done a really good job as far as covering kind of what I was looking at. I I thought the Warhammer 40,000 game looked pretty interesting. I'm interested to see what they do because a 4-player co-op game is like right up my alley. I love co-op games, as you know, because you play them with me. So I'm excited for that game. If that's like the only one, I just feel like maybe we didn't really discuss too much, but there's not a whole lot to discuss because again, it's just kind of. It looks like it's going to be some type of like zombie shooter or survival game, which is going to be awesome. Again, another situation where the Left 4 Dead franchise left a huge void, and it hasn't been filled properly since. So hopefully that game will kind of step in admirably in the absence of a Left 4 Dead 3. And Valve one day will make it. It's just
they at least the team Turtle Rock, who originally made Left 4 Dead, now is on their own and doing Back 4 Blood, which is a spiritual successor for that.
Right.
We're going to get something from them. It's just not going to be from Valve, and it's like very tongue-in-cheek, but so at least get that void filled. But yeah, eventually Valve is going to, just like eventually one day Valve is going to make another Portal. It may be in the fucking world of VR, but we're going to get another Portal at some point. So, but yeah, man, it's overall, I like I said, I give this, there's more positive than negative to take away from it. Obviously, we're very critical of Halo because it's such a franchise that we're so intrinsically tied to and drawn to because of our history and our love for it. And like I said, it's sometimes like kill your babies type of thing where it's like, man, you love this, but I can't have that because of that and whatnot. It's just, we love this franchise. We want to see it do well. We want it to have the impact that it's had on so many people, to have it on so many more people in another generation of it, so I'm all for evolution, and it seems like they're trying to do some things. We'll see how they pay off, but overall, the event in general, I'm still very high on it. There were a few slow spots, a few negatives, but overall, I think there was substance. It just didn't necessarily have that one big wow moment that I think a lot of people were expecting. I even said, this may be the place that we see Starfield at, and because of how intrinsically tied Xbox and Bethesda are to each other through marketing, even recently with Fallout 76. So, who knows? But we didn't see that. But Matt Booty did say that we are going to be hearing more about Xbox Game Studios titles later this year. So I'm expecting we're going to get another, game showcase. It may be like, maybe not a 6-month type thing, but who knows? We may get, hey, we're going to have one in, July or whatever, and then right before launch, we're going to get you one to set the, hey, what's coming at launch. Here's a reason why to invest in this, for the next 2 years or whatever. So it's exciting to know all that. But Mike, let's send a party chat before we wrap up the episode this week. If you're new to the show, party chat, it's a segment we used to do quite a while ago. I mean, God, we've been doing this show for well over a year now that, we used to take viewer questions from you, but we're going to twist it around a little bit. So, we're going to propose one question each week at the end of the show that we want to discuss. Could be as simple as, what's your favorite story beat of a game, or what have you been playing during quarantine, or it could be more in depth as to why the negative stigma around gaming still exists. And after answering that question ourselves, we'll kick it over to you to tweet your responses or send in your responses to the question over on our Twitter or email, and we'll read some of those responses the following week. So, last week's question, when Adam was here, was asked, in the same vein as Marvel's Spider-Man with Sony, if Marvel came to Microsoft to license one of their characters as an Xbox console exclusive, which character would you like to see, and which first-party studio would you like to see handle its development? And we got a lot of good answers, but I went with altered_tigers, saying, though they aren't first-party studio, I'd love to see Platinum do a Wolverine game for Xbox. Platinum being the developers of Bayonetta and the like with, what was the other one they just did? Oh, Astral Chain with Nintendo. So, not first party, but he said, but in terms of first party, I'd like to see the initiative take on Doctor Strange. You would need a lot of money to take on that. Yeah, and a lot of effects, so I feel like the initiative has that budget to take on something like that. But, hey, we didn't see the initiative. We'll probably see them later this year, so fingers crossed. Who knows? You may, Ultra Tiger, you may find out that may be the case.
I didn't get to answer, but
no, let's hear it.
I would actually, just reading this question, I would go to a legacy studio. I would go to Team Ninja, and I would have Team Ninja do the Black Panther. I think that they could do something pretty special with stealth and they're used to making ninja games, so I think that would be interesting.
Yeah, definitely. I said, what did I say? Oh yeah, I said Double Fine, the makers or the developers of Psychonauts, who are now first party studio. I'd like to see them take on Ant-Man. So we got some pretty good answers out of it. And Adam, what did Adam say? He said, I can't remember who he said, but a Thor game that's somewhat like an RPG-esque, almost akin to an Elder Scrolls or something like that, but leaning more into the melding of sci-fi and Norse mythology, if you want to, however you say it. Been talking a lot today. I've been on camera now, or recording for almost like 3 hours talking nonstop, so we're getting to the end. My voice is hanging in there. We're getting through there. So let's go. One, thank you, Ultra Tiger, for writing in, and as always, you can write in to this question that we're going to propose right now. This week's question, Mike, do you see the Xbox Elite controller still being a viable accessory through the life of the Xbox Series X? So we know that it will be supported. Microsoft has said, hey, your Xbox One controller, just your standard one, you can bring that forward with you. You could use it on the Xbox Series X, just like your Xbox Elite controller. You can bring that forward, both the first one and the second one. You can bring them forward. So do you think those premium controllers will still be a viable option moving forward by the end of the generation, say?
Yeah, I think, when you have a controller that has the paddles and the customization opportunities that the Elite has, I definitely think it'll be viable. I know that a lot of people are going to be playing on PC, but people are still going to, like, I imagine Halo would still be maybe better on a controller. So I see the Elite lasting, simply just because you can always change the paddles and change the buttons at which you kind of assign those paddles, which is really cool. I loved my Elite controller when I had it. I wish it didn't break, but things happen, Yeah,
definitely. I definitely think so too. I think there will always be a market for, especially once again, leaning into how Microsoft is handling their generations moving forward and being more PC-like and having that. Just like with PC gaming, hey, you can get 50 billion different keyboards, you can get 50 billion different mice, monitors, whatever. There's so much more customization and so much more accessibility options with that them leaning into that PC gaming model only makes sense moving it forward. I think it's just continuously going to be something that's supported to a degree. Now, whether we're on the Elite Controller 4 or 5 by then, who the hell knows? But it's something I've wanted to invest in, especially the newer one, because I heard it's kind of improved a lot of the flaws of the first one. So I eventually, I think, will get one, but I definitely see them supporting that for a long time. I wouldn't be shocked, and especially with Sony even coming out with the paddle support, that it's an attachment that you can buy for your PlayStation 4 controller that plugs in at the bottom into like the microphone jack type area, and it has two sets of paddles on the back that are programmable. That came out after the Elite controller was out, after scuffs have been out. Like, they see that market there, and it's an official licensed Sony one. It's from Sony, like direct from Sony. So they realize, okay, this is a market we need to get into, and Microsoft is lucky to have that foothold already in there with that moving forward, because people are always going to want premium products like that when it comes to gaming and the best fidelity and whatnot, and accessories are no different whenever it comes to that. So, Mike, I think that's going to do it for this episode this week. Why don't you tell people where they can find you on the interwebs to talk about everything regarding the Xbox Games Showcase and all of that, and just where they can talk to you about video games in general.
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter at TOYSXLDIER and on Twitch at MP_Toy Soldier. Just stop by, swing by, tell me that I'm wrong about Halo Infinite, or tell me that I suck at Halo, or tell me I'm a jabroni, whatever floats your boat. Where can they find you at, Travis?
Before I do that, like always, we would, I'm sure, gladly welcome to be wrong about everything negative we've said about Halo when the game comes out. Great. That would be fucking great. Trust me, we want.
I would love for you guys to tell me. I would love for you guys to come on the show and tell us that you told us so.
Right. Yes, that'd be a good thing. So, but as always, I'm your host, Travis White, aka Travelus, on most internet platforms, including Twitter at Travels _. That's TRAVLESS_. You can also find me streaming Monday, Wednesdays, and Saturdays on twitch.tv/Travelers_. See that? Now I have a schedule, and that's a schedule I'm holding to for now. And also pimping that Wednesdays we do Let's Plays, and we're starting with Halo, and we're doing every Halo played in Ranked up until Infinite's release. So that's every Wednesday, 5 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Pacific, over on twitch.tv/Travelers_. And if you want to play some games with me, some good old video games, man, you can go over on Xbox Live or any real source, but specific to the show, Xbox Live, it's just regular Traveless, TRAVLESS. And this, ladies and gentlemen, has been your newest episode of the Game Pass Gamecast, your weekly go-to podcast for all things Xbox, Xbox Game Pass, and PC gaming, including news, rumors, and conversations around them damn good video games. You can catch new episodes of the show when they drop each and every Friday morning on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, SoundCloud, and all other major podcast services. So, be sure to subscribe to us, rate us, review us, follow us, all that jazz, wherever you get a podcast at, and follow us on Twitter at GPGC Podcast. Stay up to date with everything regarding the show, video games alike, and our dope giveaways. That being said, thank you so much, everyone, for listening, sharing, and being a part of our growing community. Game on, wash your fucking hands, listen to the doctors, Black Lives Matter, and we will see you next week.